Testing 1, 2, 3. How does this camera look? This is the one over my shoulder, right? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing ABC 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. There we go. Hello, my name's Dan, and today I am happily back in my studio. Nice warm studio. It's cold outside. Nice hot cup of tea, lemon and honey. Life is good. So if you've caught either of my other recent videos, you know that I am still working on this project for my good friend Giff, doing illustrations for his book, The Way of Men with Maids. Right, so I'm going to change cameras and show you the latest. I'm just a little bit OCD, so I went back and counted exactly how many sketches have I done so far in the developmental stage. By the way, when I do a job like this, I break down the cost according to categories. So Giff is going to pay me for the developmental stage, and then once we establish what these characters look like, what they're wearing, and so on and so forth, then it will be a cost per illustration stage. But we're still very much in the developmental stage. But I did have a meeting, face-to-face meeting with Giff. Face-to-face is great. I love it. And while we were sitting at my dining room table last night, I sketched, we talked about this. Let me show you some of the factors, some of the influences. So he has sent several images over the course of the weeks to help us nail this down. And 3 of the images that have risen to the top, if you will, of influence are this. Some of you say, what? Yeah, no. So each one has a different, there's a lot about this that we like, that the disposition, orientation of the woman to the man. So this is influencing our work. This is influencing our work, and this is. Using those 3 images as primary influences, I did this very rough sketch while we sat together. Then this morning, without your company or his, I did another version of this. And again, I'm still in the draw faster than I can think phase. And after doing this fairly quickly, I took a picture of it with my phone, sent that to my computer, opened up that image in Photoshop, and did a couple things. Well, the main thing is I actually stretched their bodies because I measured this head, and this figure is about 6.5 heads tall, and that's not quite tall enough, so I stretched them up just a little bit. Now, what I do want you to be able to watch me to do is what I'm going to do next, which is take this printout from my printer on clean paper, and I'm turning it over, turning on my light table, as you see there, and I'm going to draw this again. Let me show you that again. So here's what it looks like out of this copy of the sketch. Whenever you turn something over or look at it as in a mirror image, you see things that you didn't see the other way around. That's always the case. And of course, this is a very quick sketch, so there are a number of things that I want to correct about it. I'm debating a little bit what I want to do here. And yeah, I think I'm going to, I've just made up my mind. I think I'm going to do something that could be interesting to some of you. Actually, at the moment, I'm going to turn the light table off. I can still see barely see the drawing through the paper just as it is. I'm going to explain what I'm doing in just a minute. Give me just a second to draw without being quite so distracted for a minute. Okay, so this is a technique that I use anytime I'm drawing a figure and I want to check myself, I just want to make sure that my anatomy, the big shapes, are correct. And I'll explain what it is I'm doing in just a second. Again, give me just another minute to let's go ahead and even get this guy's feet. All right, so what I'm showing you here is my go-to figure drawing. Skeleton is not the word, because it's clearly not a skeleton. It's a pre-skeleton, actually. My go-to model, I guess, maybe it might be a fair word, that I use to render a human being, in this case a human male. I'm going to do the same thing now with the female. There are two things, if you will, that are influencing how I know how to draw this kind of figure. One, look at this. You guys have seen this in art stores forever and ever and ever, right? They're usually on a wire like this, and you can put them in whatever pose. I've had this guy or girl to tell you the truth, I always saw it as a guy till a while after I'd had it for decades. I thought, wait, maybe that's supposed to be a girl. Anyway, well done, whoever designed it. Oh, and her hips are backwards. There we go. Anyway, the point is, you know what this is, and you've seen it, and you may wonder, do artists ever really use that thing? And the answer to your question today, answer is yes. I've had this for 40 years. Is that right? Oh yes, at least 40 years. And I've had more than one. I gave one to one very much like this to my granddaughter. You can tell this is my old one because it's, got this patina on it from being handled over the decades. And I've gotten so that, now let me explain, as you know, this figure has its strengths and its weaknesses. The strengths are that the general proportions are pretty good. The weaknesses are the joints, like, for instance, how the shoulder is a ball separate outside of the torso is very inaccurate. But the idea of a ball is a good head start. Same thing with the torso, the midriff, the elbows, the hips, and the knees and the ankles. All you'll see those reflected here. But in my drawing, I've corrected them. They're not balls outside of the torso. They're actually contained halfway in the torso. And of course, they can't do that with wood. But the other thing that is at work here, and I'll just I'll write this down for any of you who perhaps you heard me reference this fellow, George Bridgman. He is one of the, I think one of his descriptors is the dean of figure drawing in America. He worked 100 years ago at the Art Student League of New York. And in one of my recent videos, I showed you my sketchbook where I copied every sketch in one of his books. And that's what this is coming from. Over the years, I've gotten so that using this little trick, this little formula, I am able to draw a human figure in pretty close to perfect proportions every time. That's not all that impressive, really, you just do it. You just do it and do it till with practice. You learn how to do it. I'm trying to make it not sound like it's all that. It ain't all that. You just do it. And again, a little bit of word of encouragement or instruction, whichever the case may be, to a young artist who going into the business of being an artist. One of the things in my book that you have to be able to do is draw the human figure. The other books that have influenced me, I've mentioned, are Andrew Loomis, Loomis, Andrew Loomis. I think Bridgman and Loomis both books are available as a free PDF download online. And the third book is Jack Ham, Ham, 2 M's and Ham. And normally I have those books right here to show you, but I don't have that today, so we'll just let that go. So anyway, just want to explain where the background, where the learning came from. Let me get a quick look. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing now with the girl, or the woman as the case may be. One of the first things you might notice is that I don't start the head by drawing a sphere, a circle. It's a good way to draw balloon head monsters, as I call them. And of course, nobody wants to see a balloon head monster when you're trying to draw a human figure. One of the best ways to get to avoid that is, instead of starting with a sphere, start with a brick. Let me draw it up here. In other words, if this is a human head. Now, Andrew Loomis and probably all of these guys have methods whereby they start the human head by drawing a sphere. Loomis certainly does. But then he cuts it and carves it and whacks it and smashes it and so on, so it ends up looking more like brick. So I'm calling this a brick. But if you're just doing a quick sketch, you don't have time to develop a head, you're just doing something that represents a head. Again, you're better off, usually, instead of thinking of the human head as being a sphere, you're better off thinking of it as a brick, actually. All right, so let me look now. I see two problems. Yeah, the two arms are too similar, too parallel to each other. I'm thinking. It seems to me the most obvious thing is first step is to make her arm. And it goes without saying, but I'll say it now, that for Giff's book, we are indeed looking for a story-like, fantasy-like, whimsical, not a ordinary 21st century drawing of a couple. Okay, now let me see if I can do this really quickly. I hope I can. I hope to make a copy of this. Yeah. And while we wait, let me see, what else should I show you? So here's we're copying. This was the last sketch. Before that, it was this. I don't know what that is in his hand. It looks more like a pool cue than anything. We nixed the pointy hat on the woman. Before that, we were just doing all kinds of quick things. Exploring. All right, the copy has come off my printer. Now, so here's a copy of what I just did. I'm going to turn it over again. And this time I think I definitely need to turn on the light. And I'm going to, well, first of all, I'm going to make improvements or changes to the pose. Again, every time you do the mirror image or the backwards image of what you draw, I think every time you see something you didn't And of course, in the drawing, like the diaphragmatic arch and nipples will not show up in the illustration at all. I'm just using those as markers for the anatomy, right? Everybody knows if you can't draw a figure with clothes on, no, let me say that the other way around. If you can't draw a figure unclothed, you sure as heck can't draw a figure clothed. So if you're going to draw human beings, you need to be able to draw the nude, so to speak. The classic human, you need to be able to draw the figure, whether you're drawing naked people or not. Because putting clothes on a erroneously drawn figure will not fix the errors. That's pretty obvious, I know. Okay, so I'm making change. Now I'm thinking, oh, I might need to copy this again. In fact, I may do just that. So that didn't take so long. So here's something. In my earlier rough sketch, the girl's body showed quite a bit more than it did with this latest anatomical sketch. So I think I'm going to, and I think that's important. So yeah, hang on. I'm actually going to draw all of this. I'm going to draw this and then copy it again. That is, copy it on the on my printer over here. She's wearing a big flowy dress, I guess. Arm a little bit lower. Now, the technique that I'm using to simplify the human figure, which is a combination of this mannequin, if you will, and George Bridgman, there are many different techniques. You do not need to use mine. There are many different tricks, but it really is helpful. Okay, let me see. Still something about this arm I'm not crazy about. His hand is on its hip, of course, but it's actually hidden since he's turned slightly. Can you see that? Yeah. Since he's turned slightly to our left, his right, that hand is somewhat hidden by his hip. So, okay, I'm going to make a copy of this. Bear with me just a minute. Again. And if I feel good about the way this copy turns out, if I feel good about it, oh my goodness, no, I don't. I think I pulled it off the printer prematurely. Yeah, so I have to make another copy of that one. Got distorted. Do that again. See, I think I pulled it off the printer before time, so that didn't work very well. Give me just another minute. All right. There we go. I think I like it well enough to proceed. So let's turn it over now. Again, doing the mirror image or upside down trick. I'm going to turn on my light table and begin putting flesh and bones, if you will, on these characters. Now, I'm doing sort of a compromise. This is my a favorite tool of mine. Let me see, it's called Creative Mark Artist Products. I don't know what they call it. Lead holder. Anyway, so it's a graphite, great big fat graphite lead. What this does, as opposed to like a mechanical pencil or a traditional wooden pencil, this prevents me from getting down into too much detail too soon. So I don't want to get down into a high degree of detail because those details may be erroneous. I don't want to get bogged down. I don't want to be distracted by details. So with this great big fat pencil, I can only make lines that are but so fine, right? Now let me go back for a minute and look at hairstyle. Very definitely adolescent looking. I'm not sure I'm going to go quite that crazy with the hair. One of the descriptions that Giff gave me early on is he said that the figures are a cross between anime and the pre-Raphaelite Leighton Ford, Sir, what's his name? Leighton, a very famous English movement. I'm thinking that the time period for the pre-Raphaelite brothers is certainly sometime in the 19th century, middle 19th century, I think. You could Google that for me. If you just look up pre-Raphaelite, you will get a good history of who they were. It's an art movement and a style. Very much a storybook, princes and castles and dragon kind of, sort of. So a cross between those two, which that was a good description, I think. Angle of shoulders. Yeah, I think that's all right. I'm not sure which of these two lines I like better. Let me erase the bottom one. Yeah, I think at the moment that strikes me as okay. So let's go with that. I do not want to get bogged down in facial features very much at the moment, especially with regard to the girl. That will obviously take considerable development. I will want to make sure that it's in a kind of a storybook style. She's a beautiful princess, quote unquote, which is I don't consider my forte at all. If you said, okay, would you rather draw a beautiful princess or a handsome prince? My answer would be a handsome prince. As far as which one am I feel more comfortable doing quickly. I've done plenty of pretty girls over the decades, but it's never, I haven't done it enough, I guess, like Andrew Loomis, who can draw beauty queens of all description at the drop of a hat. A lot of hats dropped around here. Let's take a look at that and see if I like where that's going so far. start putting some a little bit more clothes indicators. Right, there's something wrong with his head. His head is looking down too much. I think I need to raise that up. His head, I want his head tilted back just a little bit. More under his chin view. Let's get rid of this skull outline so that we're seeing just more hair yet. Yeah, I think that's a little better. Now, I really don't know too much about what to do with clothing, but I'll do some. And for that, this sketch and this. These are AI illustrations, by the way. AI is a pretty good artist. That's an understatement, right? Like everything else. Giff and I have talked about this a little bit. He thinks that maybe the future of illustration by real artists, that the process, what you're watching me do, may be more important than the product. Okay, this hand is not right. Turned a little bit too much. We do particularly like this man's hand, poised for action, but not doing anything at the moment. And I am certainly not an expert at anime. If I had one word of advice for most young artists, it would be don't draw anime. Use it as a jumping off point, but don't become slavish. That's not, if you do that, you're not a real artist. That's it. If you're a young artist and you want to be an artist and you enjoy drawing anime, you're not a real artist. Because real artists don't copy, real artists create. That's a little bit harsh, but if I can save you a lifetime of or youthful age of misdirection, I'll be glad to do that for you. Real artists are creative. Real artists, it's the secondary, third tier, tertiary layer of artists. That is not the best, not the second, not maybe the third or fourth best level of artist. And I'm thinking here about a junior high kid or a high school kid. Just because you're able to draw anime doesn't mean you're a good artist. You can use anime as a launching pad, as a jumping off point, but don't get stuck in it. In fact, sounds like now that I've just said something bad about anime. Let me say this, that is anime style, manga style is a good way to learn how to draw anatomy, how to draw the human figure. So it's good for that. But stylistically, just don't get locked into it. It's kind of like when I was a little kid, I was influenced by Mad Magazine. But I never, ever, that I can remember, never, ever copied any of the characters in Mad Magazine. I was just influenced by them. I didn't want to copy them. They'd already drawn it. Why would I copy some, So indeed, I probably had that impulse already within me that real artists create things. They don't copy what other people do. So there you go. That's for probably nobody watching this is a high school or junior high artist, but you might know one, and you don't have to pass that on. But just between you and me, the really gifted artists are typically not the ones that copy any style, Disney, anything whatsoever. All right, I think I'm liking that. This girl's hip is not. I say that and then I make it even worse. I may have to pull her out from this behind him on a separate piece of paper and draw her, because it's hard to see her anatomy when she's 60-70% hidden. On the other hand, by the way, we're thinking she's going to be holding him, and that's a little bit awkward too, isn't it? Now that his hand is in this position. One of our earlier drawings, that arm was straighter, and but I think I like this. One of the things that Giff said to me yesterday in our meeting is err on the side of, I actually written down here somewhere, err on the side of dynamism, of dynamic pose, rather than a passive pose. And well, I'll do a little bit more and then probably call this broadcast finished. I hope it's been interesting to you. And again, I don't know how many of you are actually ever do. Well, let me put it this way. I have a number of adult friend artists who, in fact, one of them jokingly several years ago said she draws vegetarian paintings, by which she meant she's very careful to keep all animals and human beings out. Oh, that line didn't work. Out of her paintings. Why? Because she felt insecure, and that's a very, very understandable feeling. Drawing the human figure, there's only one thing drawing harder than drawing the human figure, and that is drawing the human face. And of course here I'm going to be doing both of those. And they take homework. Now, I've talked in previous videos already about what that homework looked like. Oh, and I was going to put a link to my Pinterest page. I did find it. I'm going to do that. I'll try to fasten that to this. There we go. I finally have some live chats. All right, sorry you guys. Hey Jane. Hey Uncle. Hey Jane. Oh, several of you. Torta Viejo. Very good. Oh, Uncle, you asked, do I remember when I was a kid? Do I remember the competitions in the back of news? I do. In fact, somewhere in my journey, this is you young people. First of all, magazines made out of paper. What a concept. And in the back of the magazine, there was, draw this figure. And if you do a good enough job, you may be a good artist and you can get... And I believe it or not, I actually knew someone. I wish I remembered the details now, but I actually met someone years ago who did that. Did the drawing in the back of the magazine, sent it in, got approved, and actually got art instruction. The person grew up to be a professional artist. Imagine that. Isn't that crazy? So it actually worked. They actually did have teaching that followed up with it. I mean, they paid for the teaching, but it paid off because the person actually became an artist. Uncle, he says, that's when I realized I couldn't draw. I never won the competition. Well, I don't know. Good thing you're a painter. You don't have to draw, right? Santo Fuer. Forgive me if I know I'm not pronouncing that right. Where his, here are some tangents. There are some tangents where his left arm meets the woman's torso. Don't you think? Very, very likely, yes. Pre-Raphaelite. No G. Just Raphael. The artist, the angel Raphael. Of course, in this case, it's referring to the artist Raphael. It's the pre-Raphaelite movement. Uncle, I have not entered my drawing into AI yet. I probably won't do that. But others. Most artists have a solid anatomist drawing foundation. That's exactly right. I think your point is clear, Santo. That's exactly right. There are many young people, and I celebrate this. I really do. I sounded out like I was against manga or anime. I'm not. I just don't want kids, young people, to get stuck copying the style. Just like when I was a kid, I had my fellow artists, grades 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, who could draw Mad Magazine cartoons or Disney. None of them grew up to be artists because they didn't have that spark that made them bust out beyond Disney. And maybe some of them did. I don't know. But anyway. But I do. Anime is a great way to learn. And it's stylistic, but it's very good. Anyway, I celebrate that. I really do. Great story, Uncle. Your buddy was a great drawer, but he can't paint. You taught him how to paint last year. Can comic book characters be used to understand? Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good point. I'm going to call you Tortaviejo. 1, 2, 3. Yes. In fact, same thing. The superhero comics, Batman, Superman, all those DC and Marvel characters. Yes. Likewise, very good for young people if they like that kind of artwork, those kind of books, and they use them to learn anatomy. Very much so. And I can't hold a candle. Let's be honest. I can't hold a candle to the anatomy skills of the Marvel comics and the DC comics. It's a sideline. I enjoy what I can do, but as you can tell, it is not my full-time job. I enjoy what I'm doing here. I enjoy the occasional anatomical or figure drawing challenge. But the guys and girls that are doing it for the major comic books, it's their full-time job, so they're just amazing at it. Thank you for those wonderful chats. Glad I finally brought them up. Let me go back now to the illustration at hand. And I think, just for fun, I know this video is getting a little bit long. Which way dramatic lighting? Does that mean it's coming from this side or this side? And I'm thinking about the impact that will have more actually on the woman's face than the man's. He's out front, so there's no shadow falling on him. If I make the light coming from this way, her face is likely to be impacted by a shadow of his head. Whereas if the light's coming from this way, I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm going to start that way. So this is a little bit premature, but I want to have fun with it anyway. So I'm going to start doing some, by the way, I've switched to a mechanical pencil. I think most art professors, serious art, not like you get in a university, I don't mean that. I mean atelier teachers would frown on my use of a mechanical pencil, and that's all right. Let them frown away. Old habits die hard. I started using a mechanical pencil about 35 years ago instead of a wooden pencil that you carve with a knife. And I just found I just liked the ease of having the sharp lead there at my fingertips, always with a mechanical pencil. So that I got into, and it's a real fine. Well, though this is only 7mm, I often use 5mm. Let's just do a little bit just for fun. And I have right here already at my fingertips a blending stub. Oh, there's a name for this. It just escaped me. A name for the blending stick. It's one of those words that it looks like it's either you are putting oils from your finger into the paper and it will yellow. And I don't mean in 100 years. I mean it will begin turning yellow in a very short time. I haven't developed the girl's face very much, so I shouldn't be doing shading on her, but you know, I'm just having fun. I'm not being a good artist at this point. I mean I'm not using good art practice. I'm just having fun. and it really, I think for me, I don't know if, I imagine all artists are this way. The fun of doing figure drawing or human drawing, face and figure, is like you're being the creator, you know, God for the moment. It's just so much fun to create what feels like, what looks like a human being with just a few strokes of the pen or pencil. And there's a being with an attitude and a personality. That's just kind of fun. That's just kind of fun, that's all. Plus, let me add, there is some benefit in doing what I'm doing here, because, that is to say, finishing it beyond the very, very rough stage. The benefit is that both I, the artist, and my client, Giff, whether we admit it or not, and Giff is a pretty good artist himself, whether we admit it or not, we both are in fact influenced by things like, oh, that girl looks pretty. Like, that shouldn't impact our judgment. Do you understand? Professionally, that shouldn't impact us at this moment. But if I can make him good looking and her pretty, our judgment is moved the needle moves in a positive direction. All right, a couple other comments. What are my top 10 favorite artworks that you've done in your career? Oh, thank you for a new subscription. Appreciate it. Oh my goodness. No, impossible. Top 10. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll answer that this way, I guess. I think the most impressive piece of artwork, and I'm amazed that I can answer this question, the most impressive piece of artwork I ever did was the piece I did for Art Prize. And if you go to dannelsonart.com, by the way, I'm right now in the business of rebuilding my website, and I think if you go there, you're going to get a intermediate version of that website, dannelsonart.com. And at the very bottom of the paintings page, so there's a, 1, 2, 3 introductory, whatever, 2 or 3 introductory pages, and then the painting page. At the bottom of that, it is listed the Art Prize project. And if you go there, you'll perhaps see why that's what I think is the most impressive. Now, the biggest piece of art I ever did, I just finished it about 2 months ago. It's a church that hired me and my assistant, Luke Vandergriff. And we have now spent, I think, right at 2 years building building and painting this project for their children's church department. And that's on my mural page. So if you go to my illustration page, you can't, never mind, it's not quite working yet. Hopefully it will be later today. If you go there, you can open up the page called Living Word Family Church. And just to give you some idea, it is right at 26,000 square feet of artwork. You heard that right. Think about it for a minute. 26,000 square feet of painting and 3D artwork. So, and I'm proud of it. I've made a career of not doing work for churches because they usually don't pay well, and the job they want you to do is usually not very creative. But Living Word Family Church is a blistering example of not that. The work was very creative, and they paid us very well. But when I say 2 years of work, it was like pretty much for me, half-time every afternoon on this job. And for Luke, it was even perhaps more than that for nearly 24 months. So that's how it. All right, I'm going to stop here. I think I've reached a place where, and after I hang up with you guys, I will figure out where to go next. I may do that thing. I don't know what I'm going to do. But one of the things I will do eventually, let me see if this pen works. Yes. One of the things I will do next, or very soon, is actually begin doing details on everything. And for that, I will move over to a pen. So I'll give you just a little bit of what that will look like. Get it? So you can see there's a lot sharper detail there with the pen than it was with the pencil. Anyway, thank you. Hey, Uncle, comment one day another charcoal drawing explaining the different charcoals. Oh, yeah. Oh, I would love to do that. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I have opinions on that. Uncle knows me. We know each other. He knows I have opinions on that because I have opinions on everything. Please don't. Everybody else is saying, don't ask him for an opinion. Anyway, thanks for asking. It's a great idea. All right, so fun to talk to you guys. I've enjoyed. Okay, another question. Gotta answer it. Torta Viejo. How difficult is it for a newcomer into art design and make a mystical creature based on existing animals? Uncle got it. So, great question. Great question. That's worthy of another broadcast too. Okay, I've got an opinion on this. Ask Uncle 60. He will tell you. We go way back. Yes, inventing creatures. Great fun, great exercise. Do it. Of course, in the comic, it depends. Do you want to make a living at this? It can be done, but it's extremely rare. Most people who are gifted with art are not going to be, it's not their life calling to make their money with art. But I affirm the activity area because there's hardly anything that you can do as a human being that is more carves stronger neural pathways than drawing, especially drawing what you're looking at. So in this case, that would be looking at a real animal, drawing it, but tweaking it and making it an unreal animal. So I affirm it's good for your brain, very good for your brain, whether you're actually making money at it or not. And maybe you can make money at it. Here, I do have this word of caution. And this sounds weird. It's going to sound a little bit preachy, but trust me, it's not. It's artistic. Stay away from the dark side. Now, here's why. Not like it's naughty. Maybe it is, but that's not what I'm getting at. If you start making monster slobbering creatures that eat human beings, and there's blood and there's guts and there's, nasty, scary creatures, you're doing adolescent art. Because that's what all adolescents do. Another way to put that, when you draw on the dark side, you are speaking every human being's native tongue. It's easy, because that darkness, and I am sounding like a preacher now, because that darkness is inside all of us. So when you yield to it, you're caving in. You're giving in to the easy work of being an artist. It's okay to do dark stuff. The challenge is going to come when you try to do the light stuff, the beautiful stuff, the creatures that come from not the dark side, but the light side. That doesn't mean, and I'm not saying it's naughty. I'm not saying that at all. Like, oh no, don't do dark creatures. It'll, you'll be demon possessed. That is possible, but not likely. It's artistically, the challenge is to draw both. And who's Julie Bell, right? Julie Bell. I think I got the name right. One of the most fantastic fantasy painters of the last 50 years. The brothers Hildebrand. less. Yeah, their most famous work is the Tolkien. Tolkien's a great example. Tolkien has monsters in his book that can make you pee your pants. But Tolkien doesn't. They're only the setup for the goodness that's in his book. That's the hard part. That's where the real artist, that's where the superior artist comes through. So don't get stuck drawing monsters. And as I said, every 16, 17, 18-year-old boy in particular, that's what they're doing on the back of their notebook in high school study hall. Okay? Because it's easy. Man, that's bad, dude. You know, bad in a good way. And they would throw a few F-bombs in there to make the point. All right. Torre Viejo, yeah, you're from Mexico. Yes, that's exactly right. Adolescent art. Here's my real quick description of it. What is adolescent art? What's what adolescents do naturally? Lots of skulls and skeletons. Duh. It's real easy. Lots of skulls. The celebration of death, which you gotta wonder on a spiritual level now. Really, you guys are celebrating death all the time? Isn't there something better you could do with your life? But here now, we're getting over from out of art into transcendent realities, and that's not what you're paying me for. Uncle, yeah, no, don't let either, yeah, Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah, maybe. Do both, but don't give in. Plus, the competition is so thick when you only draw the dark stuff, because every stupid kid with a paintbrush who thinks he's an artist, not everyone, but you know what, thinks he's an artist because he can draw a scary monster. The competition for scary monsters is off the charts. The competition for beautiful monsters, that's a competition worth having. All right. With that professorial or pastoral comment, I'm going to finally end this broadcast. It's been so fun. Thank you. Oh, you guys are still, yes, exactly. Most people try to be edgy. That's exactly correct. And edgy is easy. There we go, bumper sticker. Edgy is easy. Give me a break. We see this in rock music, pop music, bad is easy. Good, not so easy. Okay, so challenge yourself. Thanks for the new subs, by the way, and I appreciate it. Thanks for the new viewers. I'll be back again soon. I don't know when. Not today, probably, but thank you, Uncle. See you soon. Let's end this, all right? Bye-bye.